Welcome to this new Addon Spotlight. In this Addon Spotlight we're gonna look at the 5 busiest airports in Finland. So previously we looked at the UK, then we looked at Norway, after that Sweden, and now next is Finland. So on spot number 5 it's Ivalo Airport. Ivalo Airport is in the northern part of Finland. You can see it's pretty, I would say, it looks like it's snowing a bit, at least when you look at this part of the airport. Fortunately, the rest of the airport is not that I would say covered with snow. And this airport has been updated by the community. So the airport is below us, right? You can see it's a relative small airport. So here we've got the main terminal, and traffic towers are here, and then here we've got some, I would say, separate buildings which are probably used for supporting services, maybe also baggage services. Then here we've got the runway 22, and that ends over there. It's a pretty long runway, and you can see that there also is a second runway, right? So let's fly to it. Let's increase the speed a bit, because here's the second runway, although that's what I initially thought, because it's a little bit weird, because here's a part of a runway, right? You can see it's got some old marks, so it could be that this was an old runway which has been now converted to I would say taxi route. I do think that that's the case, but if you know it, right, if you live in Finland and if you have been at this airport, let me know, because at the other end we see the other part of the runway, right? So it looks like that this one is closed. That's something you can, I would say, recognize by the crosses here, right? Crosses will say, okay, hey, the runway is closed. So it looks like that this airport did have multiple runways, but now has been converted to only have one runway. So that's why it's probably also not, let's say, updated as part of this community build. So here we've got the parking spots, and we've got the, I would say, entrance point of the airport itself, right? We can see some nice signatures here, right? Entrance, the design center, so there are also some shops included. Then over here we've got some fences, which we were missing at some of the other airports. So this one is, I would say, secured, so you can't drive on it by your car unless you pass the security fences. Katsastus, not sure what it is, probably a company which is offering services. And then we have the, let's say, garages here, which offer the other services. Then you can see that it's, I would say, pretty secure, right? Because there's another fence which you need to bypass if you want to go here. And here you can see our CRG aircraft, right? This is the Aerosoft one. So if you want to have that, you need to go to Aerosoft, or you can go to the Microsoft Flight Simulator built-in store and then build it or buy it from there. The other, let's say, part of the terminal, also really detailed, right? You can see that these signs are really nice. You can see that there's a, I would say, static temperature sign. And also here we've got the entrance points from the aircrafts to the airport itself. The time, nicely written here. Not sure if that one is accurate. It doesn't look like, so this is probably also a static one. The gate signs, also pretty useful, right? That you know where to park your aircraft in case of saying, okay, hey, you need to park your aircraft at gate number 4. Now you know where you need to park it. And you can see that this is part of the Lapland airports. 2 traffic towers. You can see that this one is pretty detailed. Even you can see some people sitting in it. Probably when we go really inside the traffic tower, we don't see much, right? No, it's simply fake, because they only colored the windows. But at least it's, I would say, it's a cool view, right? So it's nicely done. Other than that, there are some more parking spots over here. You can see that the taxi signs have been clearly marked, right? So there are clear directions where you need to travel to or where you need to taxi to, including the, say, signs over here, right, which are marked over here, where you can see, okay, hey, I need to taxi to this one. This is pretty nice, also pretty nice signs, right? It will show you, okay, hey, this is gate number 4. And if we would go to the previous one, gate number 5, and then this is T1, right, which is, I would say, normally called out by the ATC if you need to taxi. Runway 04 and 22, which are the ones which we just discussed, right? So all kind of cool features. Then on the other end of the airport, and sorry for adjusting those settings, there's the windshield or the wind sack and some buildings probably for radar purposes and a nice small house, right? So if you're flying here, then you get, I would say, a nice overview because you can see flights coming in and landing. Probably it's a little bit noisy. If we look at the rest of the scenery, it's laying in the middle of the nature, right? So really nice, a lot of trees around it. So this is the aircraft which is on spot number 5. Let's see what's on spot number 4. The airport which is on spot number 4 is Kittila. It lays a little bit more to the southwest compared to the previous airport we looked at. The good thing is that this is also community built, right? So there's a community build which is available to update, I would say, the detail of the aircraft. The airport, I should say. Still in my mind, right? So it doesn't go out. So the runway has been adjusted, right? So runway 34, and it's a pretty long one. You can see that there are 4 access points to access the taxi or to access the runway. These ones are probably used for smaller aircrafts. I'm not sure. This also looks like some military thing, but I'm not 100% sure about that. The other ones are simply accessible from the platform itself. This is the terminal. You can see that this is, I would say, similar size as the previous airport, right? There are some garages, some, I would say, assistance devices like stairs, buses to offboard passengers. Here we can see again the nice sign, right? Kittila Airport terminal. It's also part of the Lapland airports, so probably it's a nice idea to create a route from one Lapland airport to the other one. I'm not sure which other airports are part of that, but probably the ones are more in the I would say northern part of Finland. Here we can see some people waiting for some new aircraft to arrive. You can see it's not that busy at the airport currently. Then here stands the aircraft again, right? So let's see if we can go inside. From the inside, there's nothing much to see, right? It's, I would say, stripped. So maybe they will add that in the near future. They will add some stuff. The airport also has a fire truck. I do expect that the other airports also have them, because I think it's more or less mandatory to have them, if I understood correctly. So it's waiting. Hopefully it doesn't need to, let's say, start providing assistance. No large hangars or something around this one, but there's some nice buildings, right? Like this, I would say it looks like a very old building, but it looks really nice. On the other side of the terminal, there's the parking spots, including the space for the buses to park, and of course the entrance point of the terminal. The traffic tower is not so large, but it's also not a really big airport. Some nice details here, right? So you can see the I would say the stripes here. We can see that the traffic tower itself is not modeled, but that's again expected. Another thing which is, I would say, different compared to other airports which we looked at, the last two airports didn't have any jetways, right? So you simply need to onboard or offboard, probably by walking via the stairs or being picked up by a bus, and then you will be brought back to the terminal. The good thing is that you can see clear signs again to the parking spots, 13B, 14B, etc. So you've got a lot of parking spots here. Unfortunately, they didn't do it completely, right? So they only did it for the last two. Well, I'd say on this part there's nothing, so maybe they forgot it, or maybe it's planned to do. There's also a refuel station, so you can also refuel your aircraft, and while saying that there were no covers, you can see the parking spot numbers here, so 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, etc. 12. I'm wondering then where the other ones are. Maybe they are at the other part of the airport. So let's have a look. So we're following the taxi route, which brings us to some nice old buildings, or small buildings, I should say. And then we will enter the runway number 34 and 16 over here, right? So on this end, there's a small, I'm not sure where it's used for, maybe for parking aircraft if it's really busy, I'm not sure. It's also nicely modeled, right? Including the, I would say, the tarmac, which is laid here. So pretty nice airport. Again, it's part of the Lapland airports, so maybe it's a good idea to visit them in the near future while playing Flight Simulator. This was the aircraft which was on spot number 4. Let's see what's on spot number 3. So we arrived at spot number 4, which is Rovaniemi. I'm not sure if I pronounced it correctly, but that's the airport on spot number 3. And the good thing is that there's again a custom or community built for this airport. So let me increase the speed for the drone. So it has one runway, which you can see here, right? Runway 21. And if we would look at the other right, you can see it's a pretty large runway. The airport is divided in 2 spots. We're first going to look at the part which is where our aircraft is being parked. It looks like, but that's just a guess, that this is, I would say, kind of a military aircraft or airport. At least it has a military part. Looking at the trucks which are standing here, right? Really military devices or vehicles. So these are probably the hangars where the jets are in. There's nothing in it, right? So don't expect that there's something in. So if we follow this one, we can see all kind of parking spots and taxi routes, which are being defined here by all the yellow lines. But if we would go to this side, we would see some more buildings, right? So some more military trucks, including some hangars, which are pretty large, including our CRG. And this is the other part, right? So this is the military part. But if we would, say, continue to fly with our drone, we will figure out that there's a nice radar system on the ground here, and down we will come at runway 21 or runway 03. Here we can see another nicely modeled radar system, right? So really cool. If we go to the other side, we will need to go a little bit more to the left, because we already did fly, I'd say, passing these buildings, which are for assistant devices, right? The assistant devices are also being parked in front of it. Think of airport maintenance. Then we've got 2 towers. I do expect that one of them is for military purposes and the other one is for, I would say, the civil aviation. There's nothing inside the towers, but they're nicely modeled, as you can see. So a lot of detail also for the one on the ground. Continuing the trip, on the left side we can see again large buildings and also some, I would say, secret spots, which are not, not clear what it is, but they're probably part of the airport. Looks like that they're not used. Maybe they're used for storage or something. And then if we continue our flight with our drone, we will arrive at the main part of the airport. You can see that it has, I would say, a lot of parking spots, right? Both here and here. So it looks like that they are used for smaller aircrafts. And then we see some nice buildings here. Looks like that this might have been the old traffic tower, to be honest. Let's move away the mouse. And this is the first airport which has jetways. So you can see a nice welcome sign here. So the jetways are the default ones from Flight Simulator, if I'm correct. They've been modeled nicely. You can see the danger zones or the spots where you can't enter, right? So you need to be aware of that. Nice signs on the jetways. If we would go a little bit closer to this, we can see that there's also some modeling being done for the assistant devices, right, which are used for, let's say, transporting the baggage to the baggage hall. And then here's another jetway. So this is the first terminal, because there's another one Or I thought that there was another one. Sorry, my mistake, there's no other one. This is the main terminal, there's only one main terminal. If we look at the other end of the terminal, or the other side of the terminal, I can see some shops here. And those are even really detailed, right? So you can even see the telephone numbers which are marked on here. And even some, I would say, reflection here in the glasses. The clock again, the clock is static. And then we've got all the parking spots. The sign of the airport itself, right? Rovaniemi Airport. Continuing with our trip to the other part. This is probably for assistant devices, a lot of assistant devices you can see, but I was also thinking maybe it has to do with, I would say, cargo or something which they're, I would say, processing on this part of the airport. For baggage loading, and then here we've got, I would say, a large hangar. This looks like to be, I would say, normal maintenance hangar, followed by some smaller buildings here, and also some aircrafts being parked here, right? So this one is, I would say, really detailed. It's also a little bit bigger than the previous two which we looked at. Again, the scenery is around the airport is really beautiful, right? All kind of nature. If you want to, I would say, if you like trees, then this is definitely something which you want to look at. Then there's some water. It's not very close to a city, at least not that I found out when flying around with the drone, right? Looks like some small village or something is over here. A lot of water around it, so that's cool. So this was the airport which was on spot number 2. Let's see what's on spot, or no, this was the one on spot number 3. Let's look at the ones at spot number 2. Welcome to Oulo Airport. This is the airport which is on spot number 2. Again, a community add-on has updated this airport massively. So let's have a look at the runway first. So we're gonna increase the speed and we're gonna increase the altitude. So the airport is close to the water, right? You can see that's almost all surrounded by water, and that's, I would say, really nice. It has one runway number 40, and on the other end it's 12. There was a runway previously here, right, which you can see here, but since the crosses are there, this one is not in use anymore. And it's also good because there are now some buildings close to it. The aircraft for the airport is divided in, I would say, the larger airport, or the part for the larger aircrafts. You've got the helicopter spots here, and then you've got the one for the smaller aircrafts, which is over here. So let's dive down and let's see what we can find out. Over there, nice radar system, right? So that's cool. Some supporting buildings for maintenance trucks, which are standing here to, I would say, to wait till they need to do something. And then here we've got the, I'd say, smaller part of the airport, right? It has also been fenced from the larger airport, or for the large ones. You can see that there's a lot of detail here, right? Because if we would look here, you can see that there is a fire extinguisher and some other devices. If we would continue the trip, then we will see a hangar which is containing some aircrafts. I would say really nice detail. I really like this one. It looks like this is, let's say, kind of a hobby or flight club or something. Not sure about that. And then a large hangar at the end. Continuing with this part, we can see that this one can be used for helicopters, right? FINAMs, there's a large, let's say, large hangar here. Also, all the details, right, the fire extinguisher are shown here. And then we can continue our trip to the main airport. You can see heavily fenced, all cars are parked safely. A lot of detail here, right? You can see, I would say, the dry tarmac and the wet tarmac, which is, I would say, kind of cool. The stairs to enter the aircrafts, and then we end here with the spots without the jetways. So there are, I would say, 2 types of gates. There's one without the jetways, and there are spots with jetways. The jetways themselves are the default jetways, as far as I figured out from Flight Simulator itself. The cool thing, however, are the signs here, right? They are modeled. Are they having the correct time? No, they're pretty static, as it looks like. And they have the, let's say, location and the number of the gate itself. So pretty cool, pretty cool. Then there's a large airliner here, right? This is the first one, is an A320 probably, which is being parked here, which is loading its baggage or waiting to load its baggage. And then another one, jetway over here. If we look at the other end or the other side of the terminal, we can see a lot of parking spots being shown here. And if we follow that route, we can see the entrance here. So the entrance again, right, nicely modeled, nice signs here, even some cars in front of it, which is, I would say, cool. And then we will see the traffic tower. The traffic tower again, it looks like that they modeled something in it, but it more looks like that they modeled people in it. Yeah, so people, not the real computers, but people in it. So that's, say, again, bonus points for this one. The other thing which I really like about this one, if they also, I would say, pay attention to the, I would say, to the signs here, right? So you can easily see drop off, rental car, parking spots. That's what I like, all those small details which make it more valuable. So this was Oulo Airport. As you can see, this was the airport on spot number 2. Let's see what's on spot number 1. Welcome at Helsinki Airport. This is the airport which is on spot number 1. The cool thing is that this airport is probably one of the larger airports. It has multiple runways, right? This is just one of them, which we're, say, flying over with our drone. So this is the runway with the numbers 33, and you can see all the nice signs on the ground. So a lot of details here, including the, I would say, spots here, right, where you can park the aircrafts. So let's start with the review here. So on this end of the runway, there are some maintenance buildings which can be used, right? There are also some parking spots here, 403 and 402. And besides the signs on the ground, there are also signs at the side of the taxi route, which I'd say is very useful. If we continue the trip, we will see some hangars here, including some more parking spots. It looks like that these are for smaller aircrafts. And then we've got 34H, which also looks like a runway. It's a really small one. So if you know if this is a real runway, then let me know. It appears to, but it's kind of weird. Then we can see the nice signs here, right? And shows us, okay, hey, this is the stop spot where we need to wait for until we got clearance to enter the runway. And the runway numbers, nicely detailed, as always. At the other side of the airport, we can see some more hangars here. Not sure if they're used for aircraft maintenance, but it looks like some fuel tanks, or some jet oil tanks. And then here we will see, let's say, a part with some European flags. So this looks like some kind of VIP access or something, not sure. It has some parking spots in front of it. It's probably used for some small aircrafts. Maybe it's a VIP parking spot, but if you know what it really is, then let me know. Here we've got some other buildings, including some larger ones, which are used for maintenance of the aircrafts. And then we will probably enter the cargo space, because you can see a lot of doors here, which are normally used for cargo. Then we will enter the other part of the aircraft, or airport 3, with some larger buildings. I'm not sure if these are hotels, but it doesn't look like. It looks like normal office buildings. And also the cool thing which is about this is that you can also fly under it and then continue your trip, right, like this. There's a nice sign here, Helsinki Airport, Finavia. And then we will come to the jetways again, right? The jetways are really nicely modeled again. Also spaces where you can't park, or which you can't access. The things I like are the clear signs about which gate it is, because that makes it always easier to place your aircraft. You can see some help devices here. It's not too busy at the airport at this moment. Buses are waiting and other people are waiting till more passengers to arrive. Then the traffic tower, which is kindly cool modeled, right? Or cool designed. So it has this bottom part, and this is the main part of the traffic tower. It looks like that there's also a smaller one, but maybe this is an old one which is not in use anymore. What's what you see at a lot of airports. So maybe it's still in use, but not 100% sure. If you know if it is being used, then let me know via the comments. I'm always looking for feedback. Continuing our trip, we can see this airport has tons of jetways and tons of gates, right? Compared to the previous 4 airports, this is definitely one of the larger ones. And if you looked at the Norway and Sweden top 5 busiest airports, you can see that this is, I would say, looks like to be pretty normal at the airports in the Nordics. Continuing our trip downside, we will come at the other end because, as mentioned, this airport is really big and it has multiple gates and really a lot of gates, as you can see. So let's see if we can fly inside the terminal. No, inside the terminal, that's not an option, but we can stay outside. Again, some more spots here, some more aircrafts are waiting to depart, including a C-17. Really cool that this one is parked here. At this part we entered, I would say, probably the part where they do some logistic pieces, including the buses which are here, and also probably they will bring people here so they can enter the let's say aircraft building. These buildings, which I'm now pointing out with my mouse, are probably some hotels or something which are part of the airport. The thing which is missing on this one is the fences, right? It's not really fenced from the rest of the let's say the rest of the world, but it might be expected. I'm not 100% sure about that. I would expect some fences here. Then, while talking, we're flying over several maintenance buildings, including the fire trucks, and it looks like that there are a lot of fire trucks here because they're not only on this end, but also if we would look here, you can see several of them parked here. Those are, as looks like, a little bit static. They're not really driving around the airport itself. Continuing the trip, let me realign the drone. We can see a large terminal here, and then we see a very large building here, and I'm not sure, probably this is used for baggage handling or maybe cargo handling, followed by another really big building. And based on this, it looks like these are the doors. So this one could be used for aircraft maintenance. If you look at the other side, yeah, probably is. Followed by another one. So you can see that due to the fact that this is a big airport, it also has more options for aircraft maintenance. Also, multiple, I would say, buildings have been added, say, to create some context about the surrounding scenery. Like these ones, right? These are normally not part of the airport. And that's where we will end at the other runway, because there's another runway, runway 04. And this one is the second runway of the airport, or the third one, sorry, because we've got this one, we've got another one here, which we didn't discuss, sorry for that. And then we've got one here where we started. So this, let me have a look at what the runway is for. If there's a number on this one. Yeah, this runway 04 right. So 04 left and 04 right. And on 04 left, on the, let's say, left side, we can see several small buildings, small offices, but nothing which is probably part, well, it could be part of the airport, because there's a line here. Probably they're all supporting buildings or maybe for cargo delivery. So a lot of detail being added, including all the signs here on the floor, right? Where you also have some separate spots. So they can be used for to park, let's say, aircraft for a longer time, probably. This part of the airport hasn't been modeled that much, but I would say this part, right, the heart of the airport, has received a lot of updates, which is really nice, right? So if we go here, you can see even that there's some work being done here, a large crane. And this is the terminal building, including some buses waiting for passengers to arrive. So a lot of cool things. In this video we looked at the top 5 busiest airports in Finland. We started at the north. Right now we're more to the, I would say, southern part of Finland. There's not so much trees compared to in the northern part of Finland, but still I would say a lot of trees here at this part and a lot of water. All the airports which we discussed are community add-ons, so I will put the download links in the description of this video. I hope you liked it. If you liked it, then consider to use the like button. If you've got questions or comments, then feel free to post them in the comment box below. And if you want to stay up to date about new videos I'm posting, then make sure that you're subscribing to my channel. Thanks for watching and see you next time.